What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got the rise and fall of Deshaun Watson. Let's check this out.
The NFL is ruthless. Quarterbacks can go from franchise saviors to scapegoats in no time.
Facts.
For Deshaun Watson, his fall off is one of the most notorious and
all because he decided to get massages, huh?
Houston Texans to the Cleveland Browns. Amidst damning accusations, Watson has failed to live up to the record-breaking, fully guaranteed contract Cleveland gave him. It wasn't long ago that many NFL big-name voices believed Watson was a better quarterback prospect than Patrick Mahomes. John Gruden even called Watson the Michael Jordan of football.
You see Michael Jordan, you see, some of the great athletic plays in any sport.
Classic MJ right there.
I mean, we had him 3 times. And then he makes an unbelievable throw, and the kid makes a great catch.
Me and him, when I went down there, we didn't talk about ball as much. He wanted to get the person. He wanted to know my heart. He wanted to know the person I am today, Deshaun Watson. That's what he wanted to know, and he just fell in love with it. I fell in love with him and his energy. And, he's a great coach. He's a great person, and I mean, that's pretty dope to come from a guy who's played and coached and been around a lot of football.
But then it all crashing.
John Gruden is not a guy you wanna listen to.
Total embarrassment for the Texans and the NFL. So what on earth happened? Before the highs and lows of Watson's career, it all started back in Gainesville, Georgia. Deshaun Watson's story begins in 1995.
Damn, so bro always had a big ass head. No offense, Deshaun Watson, but damn, shit, bro had a cranium on his ass.
Very young, and as a result of this, Deanne was forced to raise Deshaun and his 3 siblings on her own. Times were tough for Deshaun growing up, and he had to help out his family in any way that he could to make ends meet. In 2006, the family caught a break through the Habitat for Humanity program. This program partnered with Atlanta Falcons running back Warwick Dunn, and the Watsons were given a house from the program. In 2010, Watson attended Gainesville High School and joined the school's football team. Heading into his freshman year, it was expected that a rising junior was going to take the starting quarterback spot. However, Watson turned heads in off-season workouts and practices, and shockingly became the first ever freshman starting quarterback under head coach Bruce Miller. This wound up being an incredible decision on Coach Miller's part, and Watson proved himself to be one of the most talented quarterbacks in the country during his time at Gainesville High School. He set a handful of Georgia high school football records, including most total passing yards at 17,134, total touchdowns at 218, and most passing touchdowns with 155. In his junior year, Watson led his school to glory, winning a state championship. After an extremely successful high school career, Deshaun earned the right to pick any D1 university of his choosing. ESPN ranked him as
so he was a Giants fan? That's crazy.
University of his choosing. ESPN ranked him as a 4-star recruit. Along with this, he was slated as the top quarterback and 3rd best player in the state of Georgia in the 2014 recruiting class. February 1st, 2012, Watson signed with Clemson. While Watson was able to beat out a veteran quarterback in high school, the same didn't occur in college. He spent his freshman season as the backup to senior quarterback Cole Stout. Despite this, Watson still saw the field in 8 games throughout the season. In that time, he threw for 1,466 yards, 14 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions. With Stout graduating following the 2014 season, Watson took over the driver's seat as the team's starting QB. And just like that, Deshaun Watson proved himself as one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in all of college football. He finished the year throwing 4,100.
Bro, I still remember that game where Watson and Lamar went against each other, bro. Louisville versus Clemson. Still one of the greatest college football games I've ever watched, bro. And it's crazy that both of those guys weren't even considered the top quarterbacks in this draft class. You had guys like Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold being called the top QBs in this draft class, bro.
35 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. He was also a dangerous threat on the ground, running for 1,105 yards and 12 touchdowns. These incredible stats, paired with Watson leading Clemson to an undefeated record in the regular season, earned him 3rd place in the Heisman voting.
Derrick Henry got CMC in his bed.
Watson was named the consensus All-American, the ACC Offensive Player of the Year, and the ACC Player of the Year. After an undefeated regular season and a 45-37 win over North Carolina in the ACC Championship, Watson and the Tigers punched their ticket to the college football playoff. In the first round, they took on Oklahoma for the second straight postseason. Similar to their matchup the previous season, Clemson once again dog-walked the Sooners, coming out on top by a final score of 37-17.
37-17 playoffs is crazy.
Alabama in the national championship.
Roll Tide.
An incredibly hard-fought matchup that came down to the wire. Watson finished the contest with an elite 405 yards.
Damn!
Touchdown and 1 interception through the air. He also led Clemson's rushing attack, picking up an additional 74 yards on the ground. Despite this incredible showing from Deshaun, he came just short of a national championship, with Alabama winning by a final score of 45-40.
Roll motherfucking Tide. Yes, sir.
Watson had already proven himself.
Tyrell is on this motherfucker.
College football. He doubled down and had another phenomenal year through the air, throwing for 4,593 yards and 41 touchdowns.
Okay.
Career highs in both metrics. He also saw a career high in passing attempts at 579. This emphasis on the passing game led to Watson taking a step back statistically on the ground, picking up a still respectable 629 yards.
Yeah, that's still pretty good for a QB.
Along with these incredible numbers, Watson once again led the Tigers to an 11-1 record through the regular season. He again came just short of a Heisman Trophy, this time coming in second place behind Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. Yes, sir. That's my glorious king.
Championship, Clemson earned a second consecutive trip to the college football playoff. In the first round, they took on Ohio State. While coming into the game, many believed it would come down to the wire, but Watson completely picked apart the Buckeyes and led the Tigers to a 31-0 victory.
Damn!
Once again,
31-0 is crazy.
Alabama in the national championship. Watson and his team were hungry for revenge, and they got just that, coming out on top by a final score of 35-31. In what went on to be the final game of his college career, Watson torched the Crimson Tide for 420 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions.
You ain't have to show this, though.
Rushing yards with 43 and a touchdown. Deshaun chose to forego his senior season and declare for the 2017 NFL Draft. Leading up to it, scouts were very high on his winning background, leadership skills, strong work ethic, his throwing motion, strong arm, and dual threat ability. However, there were some concerns about his accuracy, poor ball placement at times, and field vision. Despite these concerns, he still went into first round, but he fell to the 12th pick. The pick originally belonged to the Browns. This is funny because they ended up trading a boatload for Watson years later.
That is crazy, bro. So they could have had Watson the whole time.
To draft Deshaun, he was the third quarterback off the board, with Mitchell Trubisky going to Chicago.
But classic Cleveland Browns.
Kansas City taking Patrick Mahomes with the 10th pick. While Watson did not start in the first game of the 2017 season, he did see the field for a good chunk of the game, finishing his NFL debut with 101 yards, a touchdown, and a pick against the Jaguars. In his first start the following week, Watson picked up the first win of his career. While this was far from his most impressive performance, throwing for 125 yards and 0 touchdowns, the Texans still won 13-9. He began to find his stride towards the tail end of the first half of the season. In the 3 games he played in from weeks 4 through 8, he threw for a combined 1,171 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. However, just as he was beginning to find his stride on the NFL level, he suffered a torn ACL on a non-contact play during practice. This put an end to his rookie campaign. He finished 3rd in the Rookie of the Year voting. In 2008,
he probably would have won Rookie of the Year if he didn't get hurt.
Season campaign, throwing for 4,165 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, while leading the Texans to an 11-5 record. This earned him the first Pro Bowl of his career, and Houston earned a playoff berth. But the Texans were sent home by Andrew Luck and the Colts in the wild round.
Like, I wish Andrew Luck wanted to retire, bro. Imagine, like, if he did retire, would he still be playing now in the NFL? Shit, probably. Colts would have had way better seasons if he didn't retire.
Regular season with 3,852 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. In the 15 games that he started in, Watson led the team to a 10-5 record. Once again, he earned a trip to the Pro Bowl, got the Texans into the playoffs. Things went.
I remember this game.
This time around, Deshaun and the Texans.
Yes, he turned to Superman in overtime.
Round and an overtime thriller. The score was 22-19. In the divisional round, the Texans.
Bro, there was no reason why the Texans should have lost this game, bro. They were blowing the Chiefs out in the first half. and then Mahomes magically appears and shit.
Mahomes and the Chiefs
like,
looked
yo,
extremely promising early for the Texans. Early in the second half, they held a commanding 24-point lead, but when the final whistle blew, the Chiefs came out on top with a 51-31 whooping. In 2020, Watson rose even higher. He had the best individual season of his entire career. He set career highs in completion percentage, passing yards, and passing touchdowns while throwing a career low in interceptions. When the regular season came to a close, Watson totaled 4,823 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, with a completion percentage of 70.2%. Despite this elite level of play from their quarterback, the Texans still struggled to a rough 4-12 record. Watson went on to sit out the entire 2020 season due to being unhappy with changes to the coaching staff and front office. Initially, the Texans were unwilling to trade their franchise quarterback. However, reports began to come out that would not only make the new front office want to trade him as soon as possible, but also begin the fall of Deshaun Watson. In 2021 and 2022, reports began flooding in of women accusing Deshaun Watson of sexual misconduct and harassment. Allegedly, Watson would schedule a massage with a female masseuse and then try to coerce them into various sexual acts. Some of the acts mentioned in some of the accusations cannot
come on, massage Watson, bro.
Disgusting to read. Watson was able
nigga massage Watson, bro. Like, come on. This shit is so uncalled for.
All accusations. Even with this dark cloud looming over,
but it ended up being false, so
the blockbuster deal to
I don't know.
Their roster. The deal sent 2022, 2023, and 2024 first-round picks to the Texans, along with the 2023 third-round pick and 2022 and 2024 fourth-round picks.
Damn.
Not only did the Browns give up a massive amount of
bro, and then Deshaun Watson has been dog shit for them so far, which is, bro, only the Cleveland Browns can make some shit like this happen. Like, really, come on now.
They also rewarded him with a 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed contract.
Yo, they were desperate.
One of the hardest and most depressing things ever. Sorry, Browns fans. I don't understand why your team put you through so much torture. The NFL conducted an independent investigation into the Watson fiasco. Watson was handed an 11-game suspension and forced to pay $5 million in fines. He was able to suit up for 6 games in the 2022 season, but looked far from the player who led the league in passing yards the last time he took the field. Watson finished his 2022 campaign with 1,102 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions, while completing only 58.2% of his passes. This was arguably even worse football than Watson was playing in his rookie year. Many optimists believe that being away from the game for nearly a year and a half was to blame for this poor level of play, and things would turn around.
Well, what happened last year? What happened last year, bro?
The Browns were 5-1 in Watson's first 6 starts of the season. It is hard to determine if they were winning because of him or in spite of him. Cleveland had an elite defensive unit in 2023, and later in the year went on to have a fair amount of success with a 38-year-old Joe Flacco under center. Through Watson's first 6 games of the year, he threw 1,115 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. While he was much more accurate in 2023 than he was in 2022, his numbers were almost identical across the board in every other metric. Following a displaced fracture to the glenoid in his right shoulder in the first quarter of the Browns' Week 10 matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, Watson was forced to undergo season-ending surgery. Watson heads into the 2024 season with one of the most complete rosters in the league around him. The Browns were able to make a trip to the postseason with a good majority of their roster, Watson included, sidelined with injuries. If he comes even close to the level of play that he reached in 2020, he could lead Cleveland to be contenders in 2024. However, up to this point, his tenure with the Browns has been barred with controversy and extremely disappointing. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, join the Halftime Show family and check out some of our
more positive. What do you guys think about Deshaun Watson? Is he gonna get back in his prime or at least close to that this season, or is he just gonna still play like complete dog shit? Y'all let me know down in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoy. If you guys like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Turn on post notifications, get notified whenever I drop another banger video. We're on road to 500 subs. Help me get there for more banger and for a reaction like this. Without further ado, I'm out. Gang!